Patrick, back today with another video. And in today's video, I want to break down the track that I just played for you and talk to you guys about a songwriting and music production tool that I think you'll find really cool. First, I want to take a quick second to thank today's video sponsor, Mixed & Key, the creators of Captain Plugins. Captain Plugins are a collection of plugins that are designed to help enhance the songwriting and music production workflow and process. These plugins are super jam-packed with features, and there's a lot of different ways that you can use these plugins. So let's jump into Logic, and I'll show you how I used Captain Plugins to create this track. So Captain Plugins contain 5 different plugins. Each plugin is designed to help you in a different area of your music production songwriting process. The first plugin we're going to take a look at is Captain Chords. One of the most important foundational aspects of any song are obviously the chords. So when you open Captain Chords, you select your key and your scale, obviously. We'll work in B flat major today, but you can see just how many scale options they have. And you can see right away it loads up our 7 different chords that fit within our key. And you can see as we click on each of these chords, underneath we have some different voicings, some different chord extensions that we can use. Down here in our sound preset section, we can select which type of instrument we want to use, whether we want to use keys, a lead sound, pads, plucks, strings. We'll just cycle through a few of these here. Let's go with this electric piano sound. Obviously, you can affect the piano differently, and now we're ready to start building out a chord progression. Now, the thing that I really like about Captain Chords is if you're stuck for an idea or you're just trying to get some inspiration, trying to find a place to start, you have all of these chord progressions that you can choose from. And as you click on these different progressions, it'll play a little sample for you. So there's a lot of different options to choose from, but for now we're just going to build our own progression. So I want to start off on the 4. So we're just going to tweak these chord voicings a little bit. We're going to use some major and minor 7s. So in this first chord, I want to program a split because I want to hit that chord once before I go to the next chord. So we're just going to program a split. Rhythm's not quite right. And then here. Now I want to take each of these chords and I want to add another note to them. So if we go to this complexity knob over here, you can add or subtract notes to each of your chords. So we're going to go with 5 so we can have that low bass note in there. I like that. Make that adjustment for each one of these chords. You can see over here you have this little inversion menu as well. And you can play around with these. There's a lot of different options. Now this is feeling pretty good. I've got the first part of this chord progression where I want it. But what I want to do after this 4th chord is add a little transition diminished chord. And I know I want this to be a diminished chord, but they don't have the exact voicing that I want. But if I go over to this custom tab, I can literally type in the chord that I want, and it'll program it right in for me. I can also drag notes around. If you have a MIDI keyboard, you can play chords out. You can also use your computer keyboard to trigger different chords, which I'm going to show you a little bit more on in a minute. All right, so I mapped out the rest of this 8-bar progression. The second 4 measures are pretty similar to the first, but as I was playing around with the chords, I went over to this 5 chord here because I thought I wanted to end on the 5 major, and I saw this minor option. And I just tried it out and I thought it sounded cool. So it's just another way to play around with some ideas, to try some different chords, try some different voicings that you maybe wouldn't naturally try. Another thing that I want to show you is up here you have all of these different tabs. So you have verse, pre-chorus, chorus, drop. So you can map out your whole song essentially right in the Captain Chords plugin. And then when you're finished, you just come down here and you drag this MIDI region right onto your session. And then you're ready to go. You can continue using the Captain Plugins instrument sound that you selected earlier, or you can load up your own software instrument, VST, whatever you want. And you can now use this MIDI chord progression that you put together in Captain Plugins with any software instrument that you want. All right, so we've got all of our chords mapped out. You can see we got 2 different sections here. We got a verse section that repeats twice and then a chorus section that repeats twice. But now that we got our chords all mapped out, it's time to start laying down our beat. So let's dive into Captain Beat and see what we can come up with. Now you can see right away when you load up Captain Beat, the layout is fairly similar to Captain Chords. Obviously now we're working with a drum beat and not chords. So your window is going to look a little different, but you still have your verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and drop sections that you can work within. And you have a number of different kit pieces here to use. Over here on the left, you see you have tons and tons of different drum kits that you can select from. And of course, you can mix and match different kit pieces from each kit. You can also drag and drop your own drum samples or drum sounds that you've gotten from Splice, for example. You literally just drag and drop your sample onto Captain Beat. In addition to having a ton of different drum sounds built right into Captain Beat, you also have a ton of different rhythms that you can choose from. And these are all split up into genre really nicely. It's super easy to move stuff around, to delete anything that you don't want. You can really modify any of these rhythm presets any way that you want. It's really cool. And you can literally piece together a full drum beat in a matter of minutes. Now listen, when it comes to beat making, I have my process that I like to use. I know a lot of producers are the same way. You don't really like to go outside of what you know too much, but I was really pleasantly surprised at how efficient this plugin is, how easy it is to just formulate ideas. You can even play stuff in using your computer keyboard. You can see each kit piece has a different letter next to it. That letter corresponds to your computer keyboard, so you can just And listen, I know we all love our toys, our MIDI keyboards, our drum machines, but sometimes you just don't have that stuff with you and all you have is your computer. So this is just a really nice and simple way to get a drum beat idea down. The other thing worth noting, they have entire pre-programmed drum beats. Definitely a cool place to start if you're looking for some ideas. So I've got a little verse section programmed here. Super simple. And you can go to each kit piece and you can add some effects. You can adjust your volume, pan, pitch. You have a ton of different options, a ton of flexibility here. And once you've got your basic beat mapped out, there's this new section over here where you can add drum fills. And they have a bunch of different stuff that you can choose from. So that's definitely a cool new feature. Once you have your drum beat all mapped out, there's a few different export options here. You can export the entire drum beat as master audio or master MIDI, or you can export each individual kit piece as channel audio or channel MIDI. Personally, I like working with audio files, so that's what I'm going to use, but you just select your channel audio, and then you drag it into your project. Then you take your next kit piece, your acoustic snare, you do the same thing. And you can see each audio file comes perfectly segmented in its loop. So let me quick get this whole drum beat mapped out and we'll talk about bass. All right, so as you can see, we've got our drum beat mapped out. And again, this was just a matter of taking each of the individual drum tracks that we created in Captain Beat and exporting them into our session. All right, so now let's talk about bass. Our bass plugin from Captain Plugins is called Captain Deep. And by now this layout should look familiar. Once you open Captain Deep, you can connect this to Captain Chords so it can follow along with your chord changes. Again, this is a very similar concept to the rest of the plugins that we've looked at today. You can have your bass simply follow the chords. You can do this opposite movement shape, which I think sounds really cool. The other cool feature is you can use these Captain plugins, Captain Chords, Captain Deep, Captain Melody, Captain Play, to trigger your own sounds, VSTs, software instruments, things like that. So if I wanted to use Captain Deep to trigger Serum, I can load up Serum, and I can select a bass sound, and now that bass sound will play. There's also tons of different rhythm options to choose from just to continue to help you formulate new ideas. I ended up starting my bass idea in Captain Deep, exporting that MIDI region, and then adding to that bass part in Logic as some of the guitar ideas started to take shape and as the production progressed. Captain Melody is another really cool plugin. This is more of a tool that's useful for coming up with some lead lines and coming up with some different melodic parts. And again, this is one of those plugins that you can just tweak endlessly until you come up with kind of a cool idea. You can see down here, there's this random idea box, and you can just click on this and it'll generate a whole new set of notes and patterns for you. So I honestly just played around with this. I liked this little pluck sound. I thought it added something kind of cool to the background until I got this. So the last plugin to show you is this Captain Play plugin, which essentially allows you to play chords and melodies and keep everything within the key that you're working in. You can see here if I'm on chords, you've got some different options here. Some different positions, different inversions. You've got your borrowed chords. You can select the shift key and toggle some different chord voicings. You have seventh chords up here. You have what's called pretty chords, and those seem to be just some jazzier voicings. You can use this with melodies. You can also set up Captain Play to work with a MIDI keyboard. It'll even work with hardware synthesizers. So I think Captain Play and all of these plugins really are like supercharged idea generators. When you're working with plugins like these, you're really never going to be short for ideas. You'll always be able to find a starting off point, a chord progression, a beat idea that piques your interest. And listen, I'm sure some of you are sat there thinking, well, that's kind of cheating. You really don't need to know any advanced music theory when using plugins like these. You can have a really cool sounding track with just the click of a few buttons. But at the end of the day, these are just tools, really good tools at that, and it's still up to us, the artists, the musicians, the producers, to really take control of the creative process. If you want some more info, I will of course leave a link for you guys in the description below. You can get all 5 of these plugins for 99 bucks right now, so definitely go check out their website if you are interested. Again, special thank you to my friends at Mixed and Key for sponsoring today's video. These plugins definitely exceeded my expectations, so thank you guys. But listen guys, until next time, my name's Patrick. I'll catch y'all soon, all right? Peace.